Yes, we are back. We made a stop at BurgerFi, as you see, and had us some grub, as we typically do. But bringing you another installment. This particular one is titled Sanctimonious Song. So after we again had our fun with our cook back here who wanted to shout himself out and be on YouTube, we decided to go ahead and drop this next installment. So hopefully you'll enjoy. It is Sanctimonious Song. Bye bye, Daddy, said his little girl. He had kissed her on the forehead and watched her as she got on the school bus. He picked up the newspaper from his front steps and walked into the house. On this day, his eyes were set on the want ads, but he refrained from heading to the back pages. He was old school. He didn't do internet job searches like all the young hip kids did. He liked the feel of the paper between his fingers and didn't mind when some of the ink rubbed off on them. After an hour of searching, he had only circled 2 jobs. He felt that he was either overqualified for most of them, or he couldn't really see himself doing some of the other ones. He thought highly of himself. He didn't really have any real friends. His wife and his daughter were the only 2 people who felt they were obligated to listen and tolerate him. His daughter worshiped him, but she was only 6 years old. His wife, on the other hand, well, she saw the change in him and didn't really like what she saw. She was the only one working. The bills were starting to pile up, and he still managed to feel that he was too good to settle for any job that would keep a roof over his family's head and food on the table. They had argued the previous night. She respected his beliefs, but let him know that although she was working, what she was making was not enough to cover their expenses. 6 months had passed since he had last seen a reason to get up in the mornings. He knew he needed to put an end to it quickly. It was his fault that things had gotten as bad as they had. He needed to figure out a way to fix things. After another week that passed by, he got a call from a company that was in need of a salesman. He told them he would be at their offices at 10 a.m., got dressed, headed out the door. He made it to the office with 10 minutes to spare. 4 hours later, he left the office with 3 boxes filled with Bibles. It was the first day of his career as a Bible salesman. Now, we can't be, and I know we often feel that, certain roles, certain jobs, certain duties, certain tasks are just beneath us. I don't know for what reason, but whenever you have a situation like this young man has, we have to put all of those things aside and make sure that we are doing whatever it takes to ensure that our families are being taken care of. So, I don't know to what extent you put anything above your family. In this particular case, it's not like this particular character couldn't go out and find a job. It was more that he felt the jobs that were being offered weren't jobs that he saw himself doing. Not because he couldn't do them, but he just felt like those jobs weren't up to par, up to his standards, beneath him. Meanwhile, bills are piling up, barely can eat. The wife is working as hard as she can, but those bills still aren't being paid fully. While this young man, right, is still out there being lazy, not putting his best foot forward, just because of his own thoughts, his own beliefs, his pride, if you will, his ego. And that's not enough. Obviously, you got to think about that little girl. You got to think about the people that are depending on you, and you have to make decisions that not only are going to impact you, but the ones around you. And choosing in this particular case to just sit around and do nothing isn't helping the situation. And obviously, the wife is a little bit uneasy. She recognizes that, he's maybe come from a certain background, or was at a certain point in his life a bit earlier. He had achieved, certain successes, but he had hit a certain level of low, or bottom, that just sort of did not afford him the things that he once had. And given the current state of his situation, it's about getting up and doing what is right. This particular story is titled Sanctimonious Song. Sanctimonious Song. So we'll have to, at some point later, sort of dig a little deeper, do a deeper dive into, the title and the correlation between not only the story itself, but what the main character ended up doing within the story. In this particular case, he ended up leaving the house, as we just read, to go to an interview. At this point, maybe he's willing to do whatever it takes. Finally reaching that mental state where, hey, I have to do what I have to do, and ends up being, or at least for that particular day, a Bible salesman. So we'll have to dig deeper to figure out just how the story unfolds, and then tie in the title itself, Sanctimonious Song, to, again, not only the story, but the character. Do you know of someone who at times just seems to be too proud to do certain things? Do you know of people who have been in that situation, and you, looking back, are saying, hey, I've offered opportunities to this particular person, I've shared some suggestions, I've recommended, certain, jobs or positions, but the person at the time felt that he or she was just too good to take on those positions. Or you see it, even if you weren't in a position to offer those opportunities to someone else, but you see that the person just acts as though they are just, too good for certain roles. Unfortunately, we got to have the right attitude about, trying to do things. Obviously, yes, there are certain circumstances where, certain positions, certain jobs, aren't the jobs that we want. And if we can afford to, not do those, then fine. But when you get to a point where, you check your bank account and, there's nothing there to check, you reach into your pocket, and there's nothing there but lint, we have to reconsider. I hope you enjoy this one, Sanctimonious Song. Again, one of the stories in the book, Words Held Together by Letters. Enjoy. That was Sanctimonious Song. Words Held Together by Letters is the title of the book. Can be found on Amazon.com. Just look up my name and make sure you get your copy so that we can continue this conversation that we've been having. Make sure that you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you hit that bell. This way you'll get notifications each time that I drop a new video. See you on the next installment.